Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Ball Card Show, the sports podcast.
For the Sports Collector.
I'm Jason Otero.
I'm Gary LeMaster.
And now it's always, we're glad to be here and to bring you exciting hobby-related, hobby adjacent
So I tell people all the time, our podcast is hobby adjacent.
Content for your ear holes.
Also, that intro music in my headphones was so loud that it literally blasted them off the back of my head as I tried to frantically remove it from one ear.
Looked like you were dropping a baby and trying to catch it before it hit the ground.
And you know how coordinated I am at this point in my life.
You're good with babies, though.
Yeah, I am.
It's weird.
Babies and dogs.
Maybe you just like smell like the inside of a womb or something.
That's entirely. I think it's because I'm relatively squishy.
That was almost offensive. I was
Almost.
that's how you just walk the tightrope with a joke of like,
I'm not good at that. I fall off the tightrope every
it's
time.
Like, did he say, and it's hard, the moment's passed.
Yeah, I always fall off the tightrope. I'm not good at balancing that.
Well, guys, I'd hate to admit it, but it's true.
What?
I'm taking a beating on this 10K or 5K challenge. He sold the JDOM, got $1,300 out of it last week. I'm still sitting on what I consider to be a very nice, unique piece, Lamar Jackson. Pop one, by the way, and I can't seem to get over the $400 hurdle.
Well, Lamar's 0-2 start with
not helping
like one touchdown pass so far this year is not helping.
He cut all that weight, and he's looking dangerous.
The
but
team just doesn't look.
I know,
and
they had. I thought they looked pretty solid going like into the playoffs.
Well,
they had a chance to win.
Getting beat by the Raiders at home. Gardner Minshew outplaying Lamar by a lot.
Yeah, outplaying him is weird.
Yeah, Minshew. I mean, you know how
nobody
I feel about
needs
Gardner.
to hear your opinion.
No,
on
you know how I feel
know.
about Gardner, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah, but you're not surprised that he outplayed Lamar Jackson?
I'm
because
not surprised.
2 years ago,
Timeout.
you took him in the top 5 picks of your draft as him being just a freak producer.
Can you time out for just a second?
No, I'm not going to let you say no. Just like I always, because sometimes you didn't say that.
That's true, but I'm not saying what you think I said. I'm not saying that.
Give
I'm not
me
surprised.
a more gaslighting statement that you could make. Then I'm not thinking you thought I said.
I'm not surprised that Gardner Minshew is playing well. I didn't say that I'm not surprised.
You are surprised that Lamar is not playing up to his
correct. And
then why lose all that weight, right?
Well, I think there's a lot involved in that. I think part of it is Mark Andrews. I don't think we really understood how big of a part of Lamar's success Mark Andrews was, and Mark Andrews has obviously lost a step after that injury last year. Like he ain't the same player.
Was he in training camp?
Yeah, but he wasn't a full participant until the very end.
So if he's hurt and he's coming back, optimistically, it looks like it might be a few more weeks before he's doing what he's capable of. If you don't see that around week 4, 5, 6 starting to pop up, it's not like they're short on weapons, but it looks a little different now. Do you think there's any regret on
letting J.K. walk?
Yeah.
I understand why they let J.K. walk because the kid has just been snake bit. I don't think anybody's ever doubted his talent, but boy, oh boy, he was worth buying preseason. He's leading the NFL in rushing yards. He's leading he's not leading the NFL in rushing touchdowns. That would be Alvin Kamara, who looks completely rejuvenated.
Which he's got some miles on the old truck.
He looks better than he has since 2021.
Derek Carr is bringing some life to that program, I think.
Well, and I think that Clint Kubiak and that offensive system is opening things up a lot. They're using a ton of it looks a lot like the early Sean McVay stuff did out in St. Louis. Well, not St. Louis, but in Los Angeles. I still think of the Rams as being St. Louis. That's how old I am. I still remember St. Louis being the Cardinals. That's how old I am. So anyhow, the bigger issue with what we're seeing, I think, in the running game in Baltimore, back to that, I think everybody really overestimated how much Derrick Henry was going to open things up. Mm-hmm. You talk about somebody with miles on the tires. Derrick Henry is at the tail end of a really great career, but running backs, especially power backs, don't tend to have productive 10-year careers.
No, and especially ones where it has been a fairly one-dimensional offense.
Yeah, dude gets 300 carries every year. He's healthy.
Tannehill puts a drive together when you have a healthy Henry. Like Tannehill went to Miami where he would put together fantastic drives when it didn't matter. and just really struggled. Now, he also had like the record for being sacked the most in the first 6 games of the season ever. Like, Miami does this to new quarterbacks. Let's traumatize them first
and see
and
how
then
they
when
respond.
they don't know what to do with the pocket, then we're like, all right, that won't happen again.
Yeah.
But Tannehill goes to Tennessee. They have some flashes. Obviously, they had some good receivers come through there, but it was a run on. I mean, they just ran the ball. Other than AJ, who was a part of that offense over the last 6-7 years
In Tennessee?
Yeah.
Well, I
Who were
mean,
the big
D-Hop
How long was D-Hop there?
with Tannehill for one of those
Okay, I was
years.
gonna say
But, I mean, you had, let's see, who else was there? Julio Jones at the end of his career. Not the
see
same.
what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I guess
it's
I'm with
kind
you.
of been
Yeah.
on him. So it makes sense why, but if you're expecting there to be like a resurgence like what it looks like might be happening with Kamara, now here's the difference too. Kamara was a back that was also receiving 4 or 5 catches
He's
a week.
Scat back.
So it's like
very different type of player.
it's a different wear and tear as well if
Yeah.
you're not running like that.
Derrick
So,
Henry looks like what he is, a very powerful man who's at the end of his career. It also isn't helping, and this is something that a lot of people I don't think took into account. Almost all of Derrick Henry's career has been in a under the center, 7 yards deep, coming downhill at all times. And by the time he gets the ball, he's already picked up a head of steam type of offense. And in Baltimore, they operated out of the gun a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of zone read. I'm not sure that Derrick Henry has the quickness to take the ball out of dead standstill and do what people are used to seeing him do. And you've seen him get tackled in the backfield or at the line of scrimmage a lot through 2 weeks. And I think that's a lot of it. And then obviously, like you said, you got JK out in a run-heavy offense getting just looking fantastic. Looking like he's always looked when he's healthy. He's just not been healthy very much in his career. If he can be healthy all year this year, he might have a monster year.
So Derrick Henry, I'm not saying what he's waiting on to retire, but I will say he has 9,632 yards.
Yeah.
And 92 touchdowns, which is real close to 10,000 yards and 100 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't be surprised if that's a motivation for him. I don't know if he's going to get 8 touchdowns this year, but is that an offense where if they're in the red zone, they can set up that 7-yard run and it makes sense? Or, I mean, you would think that having like a traditional power back in that type of role when you have offensive weapons like Lamar where it's not easy to read the book on what's going to happen next. You really have to
but that's the problem.
hedge your bets there.
So, but here's the issue. As soon as you go under center, now it becomes a whole lot easier to read what's going on.
True.
Because you've taken Lamar out of the run game once he's under center, unless you're just running naked boots, which you can do. I mean, I know we're getting into the weeds of coaching here.
I don't
but
run naked in boots.
Please don't.
It's just way too risky.
I'm not emotionally or psychologically ready for that.
One tree root. is all,
It's all it's going to take.
one sidewalk lip running in boots.
Yeah. And, yeah, that's bad.
You really don't want to skin your knee.
The sweat mark on the pavement afterwards would be real interesting.
Bring out a spatula. Okay. But, yeah, Derrick Henry, I agree with that. How do we get that far down there? Oh, we were J.K., Derrick.
Yeah, we just started going down the
Sam
the
Darnold. It's sure looking like he's a solid quarterback. I don't think he can keep it up.
It's almost
But-
I think he can. It's almost like if you have the physical characteristics of a prototypical NFL quarterback and you're put into a situation with weapons and a coach who's behind you, that you can succeed.
But it doesn't happen to guys like that all the time, though.
Well, not always, but when's the last time that somebody with the here's the keys. Do you have the arm? Sam Darnold, yes. Do you have good pocket presence and the ability to move around a little bit and make things happen? Sam Darnold, yes. Can you read a defense? Sam Darnold, yes. This is the first time all 3 of those things have been in place, with the 4th important thing, weapons. Those 4 things together make a really good NFL quarterback. They might not make you a great, but they make you a really good NFL quarterback. And then we see the exact opposite of that happening at the team that Sam Darnold was on 2 years ago in Carolina, where Bryce Young just got benched this week. RIP anybody who was silly enough to invest money in Bryce Young.
Still a couple up in the ball card store if you're interested in getting a few. Buy 10, get 40% off.
There you go. I think, though, that this is for different reasons. I clarify because everybody knows how I feel about Zach Wilson for very different reasons. This is just as much the end for Bryce Young as Zach Wilson getting benched in New York was the end for Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson had a lot more to work with. I will give him that.
But
is that fair?
Yeah.
I mean, Bryce Young is
yes and no.
Beside himself out
here's the difference, I think, between the two. I don't think that he's by himself out there. He doesn't have great weapons. However, through 2 weeks this year, PFF, Pro Football Focus, has the Panthers' offensive line as 5th in the NFL in pass block win rate. Bryce Young is missing open receivers by not 6 or 7 feet, but by 6 or 7 yards. He looks like what he is, a kid who for the first time in his life isn't the best, and he has no idea how to handle that. No idea what to do with it. And the difference between him and some guys who get benched and then come back later in their career and do things, there's not one single physical characteristic that Bryce Young has that makes him special. He's 5'9". He weighs 170 pounds. He has an average to below average arm. He's not very fast. Imagine what Kyler Murray would be if Kyler Murray wasn't fast and didn't have much of an arm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to have something that stands out. And the things that people saw about him in college, which were, he's so creative. Oh, he's so accurate. He was a
less physical Tim Tebow.
Correct. Exactly. And he wasn't.
Yeah.
And in college, he was going to be able to outrun some of those defensive ends and make things happen. You're not doing that in the NFL.
Yeah. If you're going to be that type of quarterback, and give me a second here because there's some big differences. The level of athleticism, it's Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
That's how, because you and I at first were like, I don't know. I mean, is he just going to scramble all? Like, he's got to be able to throw, blah, blah, blah. We saw some stuff last year. This year, we're seeing some throws made that are very tough throws.
From Anthony Richardson?
Yeah, he's clearly progressing.
But we're also seeing some really bad stuff from him. Yeah. But the reason he hasn't been benched
that's my point.
is because he's much a better athlete.
He can put the team on his back.
Yeah, he's got a cannon for an arm, and he can run.
Yeah.
So you can make things work with that. Dave Canales just looked at the film, and literally, this is where Bryce Young is in his career. And you know how I feel about Andy Dalton.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Canales just looked at 15th year in the league, Andy Dalton, in his locker room and went, he's a better option for us. Drastically so. Like a drastically better option.
Good on Andy Dalton, still getting paid too, by the way.
Yeah, but I mean, that's where Bryce Young is in his career. He just got benched for 15th year Andy Dalton, and it was the only way Dave Canales could keep from losing the locker room.
Yeah.
Like, that's where it's at. And the thing that's more disconcerting to me about Bryce Young is you see the sideline interactions, you see the way he's acting and pouting. It's very, very Zach Wilson-y.
Let's back out from this particular situation and just look at that organization as a whole. Like, we're seeing clips of their attendance. We're seeing their play. Like,
the owner's trash. The owner's absolute trash can.
They're going to try to sell anytime soon?
I mean, he just bought the team like 8 years ago.
It's not looking great. I mean,
no, he is. This is the owner's a guy who threw a beer on a fan last year for jeering at him, who went into a local restaurant who had signs out saying "sell the team" and started poking the owner in the chest like he's some big deal.
I remember seeing
like
that.
The dude's trash. He's not a good person. He's not a good owner, and he isn't willing to let his football people make football decisions. Frank Reich last year wanted to draft C.J. Stroud, and the owner said, nope, you're taking Bryce Young. And then he fired Frank Reich for not being able to make chicken salad out of chicken shit. Like, it is what it is.
You think they start to get pressures from the other owners that, hey, dude, we're not quite to the Washington Commanders status. But
I think we're worse, and here's why. The Commanders still have fans show up.
Yeah.
Like, they had like 3,500 fans.
And
in
that's
the stands. That's insane for the
weird
NFL.
football market over there, isn't it?
But still, like, that's insane.
But
for
that's
the
hurting
NFL.
them more.
Oh yeah, that's WNBA game level. Like before Caitlin
not
Clark.
fever.
Yeah, like before Caitlin Clark, WNBA level attendance. Like, it's bad. You could buy tickets. I saw somebody had tickets posted for 99 cents a piece pregame last week.
$130 fees, but yes.
But the point is, like, this is an NFL team, and I guarantee you Dave Canales is sitting here going, what did I do?
Mm-hmm.
I could still be the offensive coordinator in Tampa and make a run with a quarterback who is, speaking of which, Baker's going to be on some MVP lists if he keeps
he's great.
going, man.
Yep.
Like his movement
You
capabilities.
see him juke that guy out?
Oh yeah, and he's just so, his teammates absolutely love him. Which is why it was so mind-boggling to me. The Stefanski stuff was just so mind-boggling to me, and how he threw him under the bus and just nuts.
Yeah.
So, speaking of the Browns, let's talk about some hobby-related stuff. This is not on your list because I just remembered it, but it's a really big deal. Myles Garrett, who has never signed sports cards, has signed some stuff. We saw the first officially pack-pulled Myles Garrett auto come out of a pack in the new gold standard.
That's sweet.
Now, knowing Panini, he probably signed 500 of them, and they'll throw them all in elite and gold standard because, Panini. But, yeah, there are Myles Garrett pack-pulled autos out now. So if you're a Browns fan and you've been wanting to get your hands on a Myles Garrett auto,
maybe you just need something to be happy about in the hobby.
Yeah, you have the opportunity to do that now. So,
also, they said there was a big announcement. Was it Motif or was it?
Who said there was a big announcement?
Topps made it sound like there was a big announcement coming.
So
up. Was it Jordan? Is it happening?
That I have no idea. I know
there's scuttlebutt, which means rumors that have no basis of actual fact. That they are working on an exclusive with Jordan for
that
signatures.
would be so insane because I can't imagine Fanatics doing that without them having the expectations that he would also do some of the same stuff that like Tom Brady is doing for them.
Mm-hmm.
And Jordan ain't doing that shit.
Yeah.
Jordan ain't showing up at FanFest and walking around the floor with the fans.
They have shown a aggressive stance on doing whatever it takes to put a nail in the coffin on competitors. So like, are they trying to, like, Upper Deck loses that? They've still got a lot of money coming in on hockey.
Well, that's the thing. That's 90% of Upper Deck's business is hockey.
Yeah.
Like they don't. I mean,
but
the Jordan
do they
stuff's
want it?
nice.
Does Fanatics want the hockey as well?
Maybe, but I don't know that they'll be able. I don't know that.
Is that a brand that would ever sell?
Hockey sells well.
No.
Upper
I mean
Deck.
like Upper Deck.
What do you mean, to another company?
Yeah.
Well, if you want hockey. But I don't think the hockey market is a big enough market for Fanatics to spend what it would take to get that contract.
Evangelize it.
Yeah, like I don't know that it's a big enough market for that. I do think that if they're able to get Jordan, it would be really weird to me because one of the reasons Jordan has stuck with Upper Deck is because they expect so little of him and they pay him so much in return for so little. Mm-hmm. Sign a few, probably 100 cards a year and maybe 100 stickers a year. And we're going to pay you $5 million for that. And, yeah, there you go. I can't see Fanatics getting that little for that amount of money from the guy.
Yeah.
That's my opinion on it.
Mention it real quick, but the Motif product that's advertising a dual 1-of-1 LeBron and Victor auto.
So they actually dropped two. Well, the Motif is football. Momentum is basketball.
I might be thinking about a whole different.
Yeah. Momentum is basketball. It's the high-end basketball product. And Motif is their high-end football product. Now, the cool thing about these products is if it's a glimpse of what we can expect from a high-end product from Topps for these things, that's kind of cool because they look really nice. The problem is the price point that these things are coming out at is absolutely insane. Motif football is 8 cards. Its direct pricing was
Mercury,
not Momentum. Mercury.
Okay, yeah, that's it.
Motif football, direct price was $1,100, but it's already at Dave & Adams and every place else at $2,200 a box. It's 8 cards. I
don't love it. I watched a lot of it get ripped.
Yeah, it's a nice looking product, but here's the issue: a lot of the patches aren't great. I saw somebody a friend of mine actually hit a C.J. Stroud number to 15 dual patch, but the patches are both white, but they had stitching. He can't get $1,500 for it. Like you hit that card, you think at least you're gonna like break even on your box.
Is that a real price for Mercury?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So Mercury's $10,000.
Blowout Cards has it at $10K for a box.
And how many cards? What's the configuration? 8 cards?
8 packs per box, 1 card per
Yeah.
pack. Let me just say this.
That's like flawless.
Thank you for putting them in a pack.
Right. Well, they're
I think
probably
it's so dumb when I watch this stuff getting broke, and it's like they're trying
in
to
a one
slide
little
card.
box.
Yeah,
It's probably they're probably each one in a one touch. They're probably encased, but still,
yeah.
still, like that's insane. That's flawless prices for a non-licensed product.
So let's say, okay, let's do a little math here. Because I do have some of you listeners are big. You're chasing all the Wimby stuff and brakes, which if I've said it once to all of you, I've said it 100 times.
Stop
That's
it.
a bad financial move.
Stop
You're
it.
chasing. It's a lottery ticket scratch off. All the money you spend on wax, opening packs, brakes. If you do the math, it's probably enough to buy a really nice card of either of the player that you want.
Yeah.
But you do one spot at $50 to $100, and you hit $1,000 card.
Well,
you
the
can
problem
brag
is
your rights.
very few people do one spot and do that. Like
Well,
Riley is now off of training and is braking for backyard.
So
And the guys are spending 10 grand a night. There are guys spending 10 grand a night, multiple nights a week on brakes. Like, what?
the amount of work you would have to. So here's the other part people don't think about. Like, well, you get cards back. One, we know that you're not going to get, in most cases, less than 50% of what you did. And in a lot of cases, it could be worse than that. You can hit a card where it's like pays for that spot in the last 5. But when people say, oh, you can get that money back, do you know how hard it is
You got to work to sell those cards.
to sell all those? And you're selling the hits quickly, but you're also going to be trying to move some of the other stuff that's not quick to move. And some of these products, you're going to try to get more because of how upside down you are on it.
And then it just sits even longer.
Like, it's just... Anyway, so a $10,000 case.
Box, not case.
A box. What will the markup be for breakers? So if it costs them... Because I'm guessing there's not going to be a lot with allocations or very little
No,
allocations.
it's a limited product. I'm going to guess that the wholesale price is probably around $7,500.
Do you think it breaks at 1,000 value? Or do you think they're
1,000?
breaking it at...
They're breaking it at $10,000 to $12,000.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
10 to 12. So you think it could be up to $2,000 over sticker.
Oh yeah.
So 12K is a safe number?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, you're in that. If you're buying a spot, you're in that for a minimum of $400 a spot, and you're
If it's weighted or team auction, you
Yeah.
might be in for $3,000, $4,000.
yeah
to
for the
get
Spurs. Yeah. And that's for a single box
Is
break.
LeBron going to be Cleveland or LA?
They probably will have both, but it won't be any one. It'll just be uniform because
Yeah.
Well,
that's what I'm saying is they can charge
yeah.
that rate for Cleveland as well.
Yeah, I haven't seen the checklist, but I would not be surprised.
So $400 a spot on 8 cards. This is going to get thrown in on mixers too. So I know it's a big product, but you're going to see Fanatics Live and some of these other spots. They're throwing this in with National Treasures or some other stuff. Like, it's going to be some big boy breaks. Now I'm going to watch it get open, but it's not going to happen that often.
I will say this. I don't know whether to be impressed or ashamed that you actually. I can't watch these breakers. I can't. I physically cringe.
You
It's
can
like
turn off the volume.
Oh, it physically makes me cringe the way these douches act.
No, when there's a new product that people are excited about, that's like not accessible or one that doesn't make sense to buy, and then I'm just going to watch. I try to find case breaks, and then
live
I just
vicariously through others.
I don't want to be in their shoes.
No, I don't
just want
either.
to see the product.
Right.
So yeah, I don't want to be in the shoes of somebody dropping $400 on a spot. There's 8 cards in there. There's no guarantee that 8 of you get a card. There's probably going to be dupes. There's going to be, hey, this box had 2 of this team. Wow, what a hot night for them.
Right.
The other 6, now we're talking 7, 6 of you getting the card. So it's dumb, but I'm going to watch it. Also, that card is sweet. When that Mercury, the preview launched, Tops and Fanatics posted on Instagram, my wife was the first one to message me like, we have to get some of this. I said, that box is going to be expensive.
Yeah, there's no chance.
Gonna
That's
be
a
expensive.
$10,000 box. I didn't think it was going to be that much, but wow.
Yeah. So one thing that I have noticed, and this is a topic that I meant to mention earlier, but Fanatics has done something really cool in the last few years or few months. If you haven't paid attention, they are with these products, whether they're a new product or one that's been out but doesn't have as much excitement. They're really pumping these one-of-ones or these dual autos, these ones where there's bounties, and they've got key influencers in the hobby that are wanting the card. They're putting bounties out. I'll give you this for the card, that. They act like they're mad at each
Oh,
other.
it's pure marketing. Yeah.
Super smart. But, like, I don't know if you've noticed this, but now it's like every week there's a new Topps now that's got to be they're pushing it really hard.
Yeah,
Here's the
really,
problem with Topps now. I love the concept. Hey, here's something happening in real time. Get the card right away. But can we acknowledge this has to be their worst designs?
Well, and more
they're so ugly.
Outside of hitting the like 1 of 1 or nobody gives a crap. Like the cards have no resale value at all. You can go buy of 10 LE rookie PSA 10s for 10% of what his actual rookie cards do.
You know which one I remember seeing a lot was the Fauci one, where he was throwing out the first pitch.
Yeah.
If it's culturally relevant,
but
something there. But
then people.
But I sell $3 cards, so
right, exactly.
So I don't know if that's gonna matter that much. But yeah, so Topps now. The big one that you heard about was Jeff Wilson, this and that. Here's what's funny. So Jeff does this video on Instagram. I got the card. It's arrived at HQ. He walks it back in a
Everybody's
briefcase.
cheering. He gets a big hug from his wife.
Opens it up, and it's none other than a Will Greer
1 of 1.
1 of 1. And ironically enough, Sports Card Radio, who, if you want to know the down and dirty of what's actually going on, and you don't have a filter, and you do not mind explicit content,
and you don't mind massive amounts of negativity,
right? Maybe some realism mixed in there.
Yeah.
But they've had an ongoing joke about how he thought Will Greer was a great investment. You know, Desmond Ritter is huge on. The list goes on and on of people that he was like this. And then even recently with
Lonzo Ball was a big one for him.
What he was saying with his Jordan Star card that he apparently does or does not even own anymore.
Well,
unrealized gains. But there's an argument that he doesn't even own that card anymore.
Well, no, he replaced it with a different one. It's very obvious. Yeah.
So anyway, he does this big prank. It's Will Greer. Why can't I have a hard time saying that? Will Greer. Only cementing the fact that many were wondering, but Gary and I knew. Jeff lays in bed and reads.
Oh yeah,
his tags on Instagram. He is a wildly insecure.
Is he the Donald
hobbyist.
Trump of sports cards? As far
there's a better parallel. I know where you're going with that.
I just like care so much about what people say and think about him.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about Donald Trump with you on the podcast like ever. But I'm trying to find.
I was just using it as a parallel. I didn't want to get into.
I know,
discussion.
but if I would say, actually, I think that's not a great example. Then here we are in this conversation. You know what I mean? Because there are sometimes I wonder if he cares what anyone in the world would think.
That's fair.
So see how,
but also he does. It's really weird.
There's also moments where you're like, clearly this guy does not. So maybe a more accurate statement would be sometimes he does. And sometimes he doesn't. However, Jeff, I'm dropping the mic here, but I need it. Jeff, on the other hand, is wildly is insecure of the people. Well, I guess I do see parallels here.
Yes,
the ones that have the most to say about him, he can't quit thinking about.
Right,
and it's looking bad on him.
Well, and it's funny because if you know anything about Jeff Wilson's like business history and how he got to where he is. It makes lots and lots of sense. Like his wife is who had money. So he's not really ever, not that he hasn't had some success, but he didn't build anything from like ground level into something.
Which is okay.
It's really okay. It's okay. But
you can't parachute in as the hobby expert.
And not everybody is like psychologically built to not give a shit.
Yeah.
And that's also okay. It's when you don't own what you are that it becomes an issue and you try to pretend you're something different.
Yeah, and I think there's probably guys like you and I that on some level we would never like realize it. But there's probably a part of it where it's like for you've been doing this a lot longer. You've forgotten more about the hobby than he's remembered. You probably set up at more shows and logged more hours selling and buying cards.
Oh, for sure.
And yet the spotlight is there and the opportunities with this guy.
For me personally, that doesn't bother me because the one thing that he has spent more time and hours and energy on than I have is creating content.
Well, and a lot of money.
Yeah, this is the content that we create and we get fulfillment from doing it for the audience that we have. And we continue to try to do things to grow our audience, but we're not dumping millions of dollars into trying to build a brand and a business from our content. We do this because we love it, he does it to make money. He may love it too, but I have doubts about how much he loves it based on the continued level of ignorance that he shows about many, many things.
Well, speaking of that, it's like you and I could also turn on a camera and say, I'm holding in my hand a card that you will not believe here in a minute. It's here at Cards HQ in Atlanta, and in a moment, I'm going to show you 5 reasons why this card in my hand, what's the name of the player? Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
is
exactly.
From the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm holding in my hand just absolutely amazing and awesome and amazing and sick.
Yeah, it's fake.
And what else is an amazing card?
I think that, again, we talked about this a few weeks ago. One of the things that a lot of these influencers, the word prey is a really strong word, so I don't know another word for it. So much of their following is people who are just coming back into the hobby. And because these people speak with confidence and pretend that they know what they're talking about and pretend that they're an authority on something, people go, oh, they must know what they're talking about.
Or somebody follows them with a camera. Like, that's the crazy one.
Yeah.
People follow somebody with a camera. Listen, I worked vocationally in churches that were, like, especially one that was aspiring to be a mega church. Listen, all these people want somebody following them around with a phone out or a camera. It's like some type of third-party credibility or validation when they walk through a room. Like, it's no different. There would be, like, guest speakers that all of a sudden this guy that's been handing out coffee for the last 6 months in church is now on a security detail and he wore a suit that week.
Right.
Get out of here.
Right.
I will follow your content because it's interesting, entertaining, or offers value.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be the only reason.
And for a guy like Jeff Wilson, I guess there's some entertainment value if you enjoy irony.
Or if you don't care that much, you want to hear a little bit about what's going on, see some big cards at high production value.
Yeah,
because he does do that.
The production value is fantastic.
Cool stuff walks up to his table that doesn't walk up to ours for a reason. People want to show off free marketing.
Yeah.
Plus, if he's the big name, people want to show their collection to the guy that's the big name.
But as far as, like, for me, I mean, some of our listeners know me on a personal level. A lot of you, I like to think, have gotten to know my personality over the last few years as we've been bringing you this podcast. Jason will be the first one to tell you, I care very deeply about what a very small number of people think about me. My circle is very small, and I care very deeply about what those people think. I don't give a shit what anybody else thinks about any part of my life in any way, shape, or form. And so when my hackles always go up when I see people who are performative and trying to get that type of validation from strangers. It's just weird to me.
Yeah, I would say I feel the same thing. Some people enjoy. How am I trying to say it? I'm trying to say something aggressive towards you in a way that is loving and not an indictment, because it's not. Some people truly enjoy knowing that someone is getting a reaction and it doesn't bother them. And I think sometimes you're one of those guys. Like, you're going to say something abrasive is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
You will say things in an abrasive way because you've already thought through, do I care how these people are going to react?
That's fair.
And some people carry themselves thinking, I don't want to have a burden of, is this some conversation I'm going to have to talk about later?
Yeah.
But yes, there's a level of just, and it's very scripted, polished. Look for the substance in words. Like, a lot of times he looks like he's 50 words short on his book report. And he's trying to do, there's a guy I worked with, and he would add and stuff and things, if you add the words and stuff and things, to every 3 sentences, all of a sudden you've added another 5 minutes.
Yeah, you're just filling space.
So, but yeah, so he posts that kind of content,
which is kind of apropos for this episode.
The big we're winging this one for sure. Not that you're sitting there with a pen and pad like, oh man,
what are they going to say next?
What are we going to do? But yeah, Wilson's getting trolled, and he verified that he can't quit paying attention to it.
Have you bought anything new this week? Anything cool?
No, nothing. I had that's not true. Yes, it is. Yeah, because we recorded the last day I bought something. Now tomorrow I'm hoping to buy. I'm getting a little light on inventory.
I got crushed last weekend, and I have to spend money. Yeah. I was able to restock on some nice stuff, But we were talking before. I had the single best one-day show that I've ever had this past Saturday. It was a 5-figure show. And the problem with that is that when the day was over, I had a value box and like 15 cards left in 4 showcases. It was like, oh, crap. So I went and bought some other really cool stuff at that show. But like Jason said, tomorrow he and I are getting up early, and we are going to hit at least one, if not a couple shows, and try to spend a bunch of money because we're sponsoring a show next weekend. If you are in the Cleveland, Ohio area or anywhere near, the Medina Collectors Show is a 3-day show next weekend. Trade night is on Friday night. That trade night is brought to you by the Ball Card Show and
the Sports Podcast
for the Sports Collector and Twins and Friends Collectibles and Sports Cards. Trade night is being sponsored by us. We're headline sponsors for the rest of the show. It's a 3-day show. Friday night trade night, Saturday all day, Sunday all day at the fairgrounds there. It's going to be a really fun setup, but I need inventory for it.
Just set up a buying table on trade night.
Well, there will be. There will be, but it's just like I need stuff in the showcases because it all got waxed out.
Plan for me is to get up there Saturday. I got to be Mr. Mom Friday.
Yeah.
Wife's out of town for work.
That's what happens when you marry a bigwig.
Yeah, I guess. So, but I'll be up there for that. So we got to buy. Oh, one last thing before we wrap up. Shohei Ohtani is a special person to watch play baseball.
The absolute genetic freak show.
Yeah. 50-50 happened yesterday. 51-51 happened yesterday as well.
And we could be in a situation where we get 50-50 300 if he continues hot for the next 5 days because he's hitting like 296.
Which this year.
There's like 7 guys in all major leagues hitting 300 or higher.
At some point, I want to talk through this in more depth because I think we could both give a quick little 1 or 2 minute answer. But what statistics are changing as the game evolves and as pitching has changed drastically now that they have technology to figure out how to get a lot more movement on high speed. Averages, it could be off a year. We got to get in the archives a little bit.
More importantly, people have finally people are embracing the math behind baseball. And I know that makes a lot of old heads really uncomfortable. But the math behind baseball says that batting average is the single most overrated statistic ever. It doesn't matter how you get on base. That's why OPS is much more considered a big deal than batting average anymore. OPS, and if you're not sure what OPS is, it's on base percentage plus slugging. That number is much more important than batting average. Would you rather have a guy like Luis Arias who hits 320 but has an OPS of 740, which means that, he's hitting the ball at a 330 clip, but he's only hitting singles and he's not driving in any runs? Or would you rather have Kyle Schwarber hitting leadoff, who's going to hit 220, but he's going to hit 45 jacks and have an OPS of 900?
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that.
Okay,
well, I was going to say was a 300.
I'll deep dive that.
300 batting average is it looks a little different than it did a few years ago.
Yeah, the league average this year is like 237.
Yeah. And I have no idea before what to project in that, but Shohei is special. If you are buying Shohei, let's just talk about this a few different ways.
Wait till winter.
Wait till the offseason if you're getting something big. If you want something now, you're like, did I miss the boat? Here's the play. And I don't think you'll disagree with me.
Okay. I'm interested to hear where you're coming up with this.
The play on Shohei, if there is one, is to get on eBay now and target that $10 to $30 range and filter by items that have been in the store for longer periods of time that were either a little bit overpriced but are now underpriced or nobody's adjusted pricing on. Like I know that I have a lot of $5 Ohtani stuff that I haven't changed the price on. It's probably $7 today. It might be 10 or 15 tomorrow.
Right.
But I'd go for rookie. I'd go for parallels. Obviously,
there aren't too many $5 to $30 rookies.
$30 you can $20 to $30 you can get some of his lower end rookies clean.
Yeah, heritage, things like that.
Yeah, gallery, some of that stuff. But if you're, I wouldn't go after a big card unless you're trading in on that to get in a better spot. I still think there's upside. I do. He's expensive.
He is, but here again, I think
you're playing to hold out on the career being what it looks like it's going to be.
Well, I mean, what it already is. One more year of high-level production, he's a first ballot lock.
Yeah, I'm saying 5 more years of what we're seeing.
Oh, 5 more
this
years of
year.
what we're seeing this year, and we're talking about him in the top 5 players.
Well,
of
that's
all
what I'm
time.
saying. Now
Yeah.
you're collecting him like you are Brady.
Yeah, he's in a conversation with like
If you think
Mays and Griffey.
if you think
and-
that's going to happen, that would be a reason to buy something nice now.
yeah, but then it's a long-term hold. I still say even if you want to do that, wait till
December,
December,
January.
January, because it's going to be 15 to 20% lower than it is right now.
It'll still be expensive.
It's still going to be expensive. Yes,
He's also going to be a guy that a lot of people selling him are going to be like, I don't care, because they don't care if they keep that card or not.
Right.
They don't care if it sells. So, but yeah, Shohei's doing something really special.
We pulled 40 minutes
40
directly out of our
minutes.
ass today.
We thought we had nothing to tell you, and look at us talking. Look at us talking. This has been the Ball Card Show, the Sports Podcast.
The Sports Collective. Peace.